had several guests on the show talking about what they're doing to improve Farmington. People like Michael Bullock, Jamie Church, Mayor Duckett, Brent Garcia, Shauna Reeves, Luke Renner, Tom Taylor, Randy West, and more. All of these people play a part in a larger picture, all aimed at improving the culture and economic health of Farmington and the surrounding area. The more I look, the more people I find who have made a choice to take action and do something. Donnie Pigford is one such person. As a third-generation business owner here in Farmington, Donnie decided to use his connections and expertise to add to the effort in a really cool way. He's building Farmington's first botanical gardens at the Farmington Museum at Gateway Park to better utilize the grounds to attract visitors to stop and enjoy the amazing resources we already have available at and around the museum. He has some other really amazing ideas that include possibilities to collaborate with local oil and gas operators in San Juan College to improve air quality and offer more local food sources? What? That will have to be another episode. Today, I'm going to ask him about the Botanical Gardens. Want to see how it goes? Come along for the ride in Ken's Think Tank. Ken's Think Tank is made possible by the following sponsors. Trattoria di Bernardoni is Farmington's authentic Italian restaurant. Rooted deep in Italian history, the Bernardoni family treats your family to food that loves you back. Drop in and tell them Ken sent you. You'll be glad you did. From the moment you walk into the Cave Men's Grooming, you understand this is no average barbershop. This is a place for men and their grooming needs. In a world full of guys, be a man. Drop by the Cave Men's Grooming and join the revolution. 505 Motorsports in Farmington is awesome. They sell vehicles of all makes and models, as well as four-wheelers, motorcycles, boats, RVs, and more. They even offer in-house financing and co-signment. Donnie Pigford, you are the owner of San Juan Nurseries,
yes,
along with
am.
Your lovely wife, Myra.
Yep.
Awesome. And it used to be your parents.
My grandparents, they started the business back in 51. And then my parents were involved. And now I'm third generation, and we got fifth generation in there now hanging out doing stuff.
Yeah.
So it's fun to come full circle on that now.
That's awesome. Did you work there as a kid?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I grew up in the.
How fun would that be to work at a
that was
nursery
cool.
when you were a kid?
Well, I mean, it's really fun when it's just hanging out, having fun.
Yeah. Did you go to school for any of this, or did you just kind of learn
not
it
really.
from
I learned. Yeah,
parents?
my grandfather was incredible. He was just a wealth of knowledge from every standpoint of life, really, more than even business. I mean, that guy, he just did things the right way, and he taught all of us, how to do things. And I mean, even today, like our grandparents, we had to count change back. We could never put the amount in and get that the change amount due and just give it to the people. We had to. You couldn't run the register if you couldn't count change back and do it the proper way. So we learned a lot of things from them. So it was the best education that I had.
Oh yeah.
And with our business, it's all about teaching people how to do it and do it the right way. And my family originally came from North Carolina. My grandfather grew up on sort of a plantation back there where they did a lot of tobacco farming and a lot of other things. And so, I mean, he grew up farming and being, planting and doing all that stuff all the time. And then he went to North Carolina State University and got a civil engineering degree. And he was taking a job in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. He had already taken it. He was going to be engineering and doing stuff, and drove through this area. And ended up calling back and saying, you know what, I'm not going to take that job.
Wow. So how long have you been running the business, San Juan Nurseries?
So I came back in, I guess probably around the mid-90s. I mean, I'd been in the business doing stuff forever, but when I got back in sort of the mid-90s, I took on a lot more responsibility at that point. I think at that point, it's when I sort of decided that it really was my passion. That this whole industry, the potential and the benefits of everything that this industry involves is just, it's mind-blowing, really.
Yeah.
And so that's when I really found my passion for it. And then once we did that, man, there was no stopping me at that point. There's so many facets of this industry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just, you're not just growing plants in a place and selling plants.
No.
That's a part of what you do.
It's a part of what we do, but I mean, this is I mean, we all know this. It's not anything that's not common knowledge, but you know, plants are pretty important to our survival.
Right.
and just you know, learning more and more each day about how important these things are. I mean, it's just even the science behind this industry. Like, we're still learning so much, from soil health to just new varieties of plant material and all this different stuff, that it's and just how much it impacts the planet, impacts us as individuals, from the food we eat to the air we breathe. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's absolutely everything, and that's what makes it so incredible. Plants are, I mean, they're a living organism just like the human body, and really they go through a lot of the similar processes, and you know, the genetic code of each of these things has specific requirements. So when you start getting into vegetable gardening, for say,
right,
you know, if you're growing several different plants in a garden, those plants have a requirement that's slightly different than the one next to it.
Right.
And so you can either generally feed stuff and do okay, or
Sure.
you can get more specific with your knowledge on stuff and do much better with it.
Right. And even, I mean, applicable this time of year, because everybody's, you know, always looking forward to the colors, the color changes and whatnot. But there's a reason for those color changes, and there's a chemical process that's happening within the tree to go into a different life stage of why that's happening. It's pulling stuff out of those leaves, which causes the color to change and everything.
The leaves are actually that color, but it's removing the stuff that gives it that green color.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah. So I was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Oh yeah, it's endless. I mean, we always laugh about it, but everybody over at the store, everybody pulls together, and it's like, hey, this is what I was just reading, or I just heard this, or I learned this, and I mean, we have so much fun just increasing our knowledge each day and pushing each other to better ourselves, and it's just a lot of fun. And then helping customers. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, we promote a lot of that, you know, the vegetable gardening and that kind of stuff, because that's great family time. Get the kids out, get them doing something. They get a feel of what it's like to put in work and to
see the results of
get results from it. Yeah. And then of course the other thing is that, you know, if you introduce a kid to a tomato and it's on his fast food hamburger,
right,
you know, you can understand why kids may not like tomatoes very much.
Yeah,
I love tomatoes and I hate those things. But if you eat something fresh off the vine that's got that sun ripened flavor to it, and I mean, it's fun to see kids grow up learning that kind of stuff. I mean, as a kid, we would always have huge gardens, and I mean, we'd go out and just be picking stuff off the vine and doing stuff, and it's, you know, and you'd bring people over that didn't know anything about it, and it's like, well, do you have any chips, or you have any, you know, anything else? And it's like, are you kidding me? You realize what's right here in front of you? Again, growing up, you've got raspberry bushes, blackberry bushes, you've got sugar peas growing. I mean, you can find yourself out in the backyard, you know, picking berries, and it's one in the bucket, one in the mouth, one in the bucket, one in the mouth.
That's right. Yeah, growing up, my grandparents had a whole bunch of cherry trees and an apricot tree in their backyard, and that was always tons of fun to just go out there as a kid, and there's just like ready-made snack, out there playing and snatch something off the tree and eat it.
I can remember my granny. My granny and Papa, they had like a small farm up in Bayfield, and we'd go up there, and I mean, we'd work the farm,
Yeah.
you know, milking cows and
Right.
getting eggs and irrigating and working in the gardens, and I mean, you learn how to eat. You learn how to eat really good when you're doing that stuff all day
Yeah.
long. But she used to make like the dried fruit leather, like the fruit roll-ups.
Oh, right.
So we'd go pick all the stuff, and then she'd make it all and dehydrate it all, and
Really?
oh yeah, and she'd roll it up in wax paper, and I mean, you can, you know, still taste it today. That
Oh,
just
that's
how great.
cool.
Anything that's ripened by the sun on the vine on the tree, it just beats the tar out of anything else that you get.
Yeah.
That's just not ever
Yeah.
fully ripened and doesn't go through the full process of
Right.
maturation.
Right. And that's hard to do in a food production society, and that's part of the reason why the push for you know, growing things local,
Mm-hmm.
you know, local farmers and growing things at your own home,
Right.
you know, as well, because it doesn't have to be pulled off before it's ripe
No.
and then allowed to ripen during shipping and packaging and
Absolutely.
everything else. So
We have a phenomenal farmers market here.
yeah.
And I mean, people should be taking full advantage of that, because this is all locally grown stuff.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's been ripened the right way or harvested at the right times, and it's not transported through trucks. It's freshly picked. It's sitting in a parking lot,
Right.
and people really should take better advantage of that kind of stuff, and then growing your own stuff. We just recently we went partners with some folks, and we've got a small farm now, and we're all so excited about the possibilities of this farm. That's one of the things that I was saying earlier. I've just got all this stuff running through my mind, because these little micro farms, it's just such a cool concept of, you know, having a small farm right in the middle of the city limits,
Right.
and being able to have, you know, gardens and orchards and chickens, and I mean, and whatever you want to do. A lot of people do goats and get their own milk and make their own cheeses, and
Right.
and it's just it's a great way for families to spend time, for kids to grow up, but it's just great for communities too.
Oh yeah.
So it's so great. So
Yeah.
we're so excited. We got plans to get, you know, beehives set up out there and chicken coops set up out there, and we're in the process of planting, you know, big plots of garlic right now, and you know, that we can harvest into summer next year. And
Right.
so it's just it's a neat thing, getting back to some of the roots that some of us grew up on, and
Yeah.
and remembering, like, my grandparents' farm and even the farms out in North Carolina. It's just cool. It's just it clears the mind. It's good for the soul. It's good for everything.
Yeah. You were talking to me earlier about some things, some ideas that you had.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's more than an idea. One of them's happening, and that's the one that's happening is
The botanical garden.
The botanical gardens.
Right.
Yeah. So you proposed that
Uh-huh.
and are kind of putting that together. And so explain that project. What's happening there?
Well, over at the Gateway Museum, they, you know, there's obviously a lot of property around that area. The museum is phenomenal. That place is just the neatest.
Yeah, it really
It's just
is.
the neatest place, and they do such a great job with it. And then there's all that. There's unbelievable exposure to the river right there.
Yeah, it's
And
right on the
it's
river.
right there. And the problem with so much of Farmington was, I don't think the rivers were ever really utilized for their potential. There's
Right.
not a lot of places in Farmington that you're driving down the roads and you see the river, or
Yeah.
restaurants are butted up to the river and you've got
Right.
patios that look out over the river and,
Right.
and things like that. So the Gateway Museum is an opportunity where it is an incredibly busy intersection in Farmington.
Mm-hmm.
It's right on the river. We have that exposure to it right there. And I don't know if you've spent much time back behind the museum back there.
Definitely, yeah.
It is spectacular.
It's beautiful.
It's quiet. There's wildlife everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just a really great place to hang out.
You would never know that looking from the road.
You would never know it.
You have to get out and just walk around. You don't even have to go through the building. You
Nope,
walk around
the edge of it.
And it's awesome back there.
Yeah, it is. And that's part of the idea behind the botanical garden is they were working on plans, the city is, or was. They're working on plans for a park idea and kind of a way to develop that area to draw more attention to it. The mayor's been doing a phenomenal job on just really, and everybody else with the city, phenomenal job on really trying to promote, a lot more outdoor activities and the river walk. And so when the idea came out, I looked at the plan and I thought, man, the plan looks to me like a botanical garden. and I think that the advantage to a botanical garden is it gives us something that's not just a traditional park.
Right.
I mean, Farmington does a great job, and we've got great parks. Doug Abe with the Parks and Rec department, he does an incredible job, and those guys are just doing such a great job with everything. But the idea of being able to market something that can be an educational piece, the botanical garden or demonstration garden can really show people what they can grow, how they can grow things. I really would like to promote and work on a lot of things like pollinator gardens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing that I think we've talked about a little bit was the importance of our pollinators. Our bee populations are struggling.
Right.
And I don't think people often realize how important bees are to our survival as well.
I didn't read this story, but I did see a headline about a week ago that the headline was something along the lines of, turns out bees are the most important beings on our planet.
Basically, they pollinate almost all of the food we eat.
Yeah.
They pollinate most of all the clothing that we're wearing on our back.
Yeah.
And so without them, we don't have anything.
Right.
Back to the botanical garden, I'd love to be able to put pollinator gardens in to show people what plants attract pollinators, and maybe get a hive out there and be able to teach kids what bees do. I don't know if you've ever been involved in opening up a beehive and looking at comb, and it is some of the most perfection.
Yeah.
The way that they build and the way that they do everything is just absolute architectural perfection.
Right.
And it's just incredible. I mean, it's what nature does. Nature does everything so amazing that when you really stop to look at nature in depth, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Yeah, we keep trying to change it all. Just let it be what it is.
Let it be what it is, because we're not very good at changing it.
I know. We don't know as much as the natural processes that are happening.
Millions of years of processes.
Right.
So, anyways, I think the botanical garden would be great because you've got the museum there. We could create somewhat of an outdoor educational facility out there where we teach kids about beneficial insects, ladybugs, mantids, what these beneficial insects do and what the bees do, and even the medicinal side of plants. I mean, people have been using plants for medicinal purposes for as long as people have been around.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those guys that thinks that all of the answers are here. And they're available to us. We just have to figure it out.
Right.
And so, I just think that I think it would be a really neat place for people to be able to go, to walk through botanical gardens, to look at different things, maybe learn things a little different way than they may have first thought. And so I just think I think it's a great place to to be able to go for an afternoon and catch the museum, catch the botanical garden.
Yeah.
The farmers market's obviously there. I think it would be great to do a lot more festival stuff over there.
Oh, definitely.
Have a green chili festival at the end of the season. Have an apples festival at the end of the season with, your apples, your juices, your hard ciders, all that kind of cool stuff. I mean, I think that would lend itself to just such a nice area for the city of Farmington as people pass through this town and they look over towards that direction and they go, wow, what's going on here? Maybe we need to stop a little bit and see what this town's all about rather than just passing through it on the way to Durango.
Yeah, we're not named Farmington by accident.
Right. As far as I know.
We were a farming town.
Right.
And it was, I think, mostly orchards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So our export crop was apples.
Yep.
So we were
Great climate for that.
Yeah, we were shipping out apples, so of course an apple festival that relates to our direct history.
Right.
And we're in New Mexico.
We're in New Mexico.
I mean, our signature crop is green chili.
Right.
So, absolutely, green chili festival, apple festival, and I've been to so many of those kind of fruit type festivals where they're just amazing.
They're fun.
Yeah,
they're fun.
You go there and there's everything. Like I went to a strawberry festival. I think it was in North Carolina, but it was like everything strawberry.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. There were just vendors and people cooking and baking and stuff to eat everywhere.
All
and there
over
was
the place.
some kind of strawberry themed thing that you could get, and we could do the same thing with apples.
Absolutely,
definitely.
It creates a really good, strong sense of community.
Yeah.
And I think that again, and it in that specific location, it just opens the door to what we were talking about earlier, that great area back behind the museum. And so it's just one more, I think it's one more thing that we can market for ourselves. I think it's one more thing that, we do it right, and we can bring people down from Colorado, we can bring people from Arizona and Utah and other parts of New Mexico to come up, check out the museum, check out the botanical gardens, and just again create that sense of community out there.
It's one more cog in the wheel of making this a really attractive place for lots of different reasons. For visitors, for businesses to be, in order for their employees to raise families and everything, to retire, all of that. So good stuff. And this will be different. This will be different because we have a couple of gardens at the Nature Center.
We do,
right? So we've got the herb garden and a xeriscape garden,
and we want to connect those two things.
Else. Yeah,
we want to connect those two things because they're on the same river trail, right? Yeah. We don't want the two things competing because the Nature Center is phenomenal.
Just too much knowledge. I can't.
Yeah, we could drive to Albuquerque and back and do this.
And I still would have questions. How all this stuff works. There's just.
I still have questions.
You know a couple things about plants.
A couple. One or two things. But I'm learning every day. That's the key for all of us. Keep learning something every day.
Maybe that's why it remains so exciting for you, because it is really cool knowledge that you've gained, but then there's always more cool knowledge like around the next bend to pick up and know and learn and everything. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you riding with me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
All
Great ideas, and I can't wait to see the
All right. Yep. Well, let's get started.
Awesome.